This is the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, getting you the information that you need to be a successful real estate investor. Hosted by Mark Monroe, Ronald Walker, Gabe Rodarte, and me, Marty Grizzanti. Combined, we've done thousands of real estate transactions. So get ready for real stories and true case studies on finding deals, growing portfolios, and making money. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, where we talk to you about just real estate investing, awesome opportunities for you to get into the real estate game and learn from the people that are here and those that we interview. Today, we want to interview the man, Marco, which I will not say your last name. All right, but we'll get into that in a little bit. And we have Marty here. Marty, what's up, dude?
Yo, what up? It's Kozlowski.
Kozlowski.
Like Mike Wazowski.
Kozlowski.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna jump into this, guys. This is gonna be a fun one because if those who don't know Marco, it's gonna be some fire coming on today. So we're pretty easy going. So Marco, what's up, man? How you been?
I'm phenomenal. Thanks for asking. You guys
Good.
doing coolio? You doing good?
Yeah, we're doing good, man.
Sweet.
Yeah, we're doing good. For those who don't know, at this very moment, there's a big storm coming into Marco's neighborhood. Right? How far is that out from right now?
Let me just go get my tape measure. It's Cuba to Orlando.
Oh, your days.
Dude, I ran out of tape, man.
You can still hike. You can still hike. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So, guys, we're just gonna go and have a good conversation and learn a little bit about Marco that we've never known before. So,
I will say,
I should have worn pants. I should have worn pants.
I'll say this about Marco. He is an incredible storyteller. I mean, I really listened to a couple of his podcasts, and I was in the entire time. I was sucked in. It was like a laser beam right there. So Marco, kudos to you. And yes, it is coolio, very coolio around these parts. I'm in upstate New York in Rochester, for those who don't know. And it's a 50-degree day, but I'm actually a fan. I'm a fan of this weather. I know, Gabe, you are. Houston, dude, you guys don't get this type of weather, baby.
Dude, man, it was 56 this morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm posting, I'm talking to people, I'm happy, high-fiving strangers on the street, dude. It's friggin', that's just what you do when it's 56 in the morning.
Well, Marco gets it. He's an Orlando guy, so he also is a Canadian, so he understands. He understands what it's like.
Yeah, but I'm soft now. When my nipples get cold, I start, crying like a little girl.
All right,
that's too funny.
I love it.
All right, well, hey, Marco, why don't you share us a little bit of your origin story of how you got involved with real estate investing? Just kind of a quick, just overview.
Sure. Been at it since '99. Bought my first property then. Just to snap before I go backwards, let me just give those that don't know anything about me just a quick snapshot. I buy around 1,500 units a year and never use any of my own money. I use asset-based lending, creative strategies, debt takeovers, wraparound mortgages. Very creative strategist. I don't know how to say it if I'm Canadian or American. Strategy is one of those hard words for me. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, and through being creative and understanding how different lenders can do different things based on actual loan to value, not purchase price, I've created processes and systems to be able to buy as many cash flowing assets. And that I'm going to underline cash flowing assets. I'm not really in the real estate game anymore. I'm more in the cash flow business, where the property makes XYZ, my mortgage cost less than that, and I make the spread. And I just do it over and over again.
Like it.
And since I am Canadian, and the first, I'd say 1,000 properties that I bought didn't have any of my own credit. I didn't have any credit. Really started with no money since I'm a concert pianist. I'm a musician, and didn't really go to school for finance or high finance to understand any of that shit. Can I say shit here? I'm not sure if I did.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of shit.
All right,
yeah,
good. All right.
Let the shit.
You got a lot of shit going on here.
All right, very good. Yeah, so I'm going to say shit. So yeah, so I didn't know any of this shit, and then I had to learn it. the hard way, trial and error, made a lot of mistakes. And I've failed forward every single time. Every time something good happened, what did I do right? What can I learn from it? Something terrible happened. What did I learn? And learn from my mistakes. Always celebrate mistakes. That's really been a real, I guess, blessing in my life, is every time something happens, celebrate it and move on from it quickly.
I like that.
If you dwell on it, it's going to really hurt you.
How do you celebrate mistakes?
I was going to ask that.
Yes.
Dang.
I did it. I screwed it all up. Now, how do I fix it? That's how you do it.
Yeah, I like that. I could do that.
Yeah, because and now that I understand how business works, because I don't have any background in business. My parents are old school Eastern European, came off the boat, and I was allowed to be 4 things growing up. I was either going to be a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or some other thing. And if I wasn't any of those things, then they'll go make another one, basically.
Right.
And when I went into music and got married when I was basically 18, 4 kids at 24, stay-at-home dad, I was, the black sheep of the family.
Wow. Yeah.
How will you ever succeed? And now my parents don't even kind of want to know what I do, because they think I work for the mafia, because nobody doesn't have a degree.
You look like a mafia guy.
Yeah.
Totally. I would believe it.
Absolutely. Yes. This is the face of the mafioso. Although I have a story around that from when I was at a club in Vancouver that I can tell you a long time ago, because apparently I look like a murderer. And I went into, so you go in, if you've ever been to a club, you give your ID and your credit card, they sit you down, and then suddenly, there's these 2 police officers from Canada, and one was a Sikh, so they have the turban.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't been in Canada for quite some time, and I thought it was a joke because it was close to my birthday. So I'm joking around with these cops like they're basically, just there as a joke. And when they start almost putting me in handcuffs, then I realize, this like I could read the room pretty quick, where I done screwed up right now. I'm gonna sit right down and shut the hell up.
There's
right?
a couple of these stories with handcuffs and.
Oh yeah, well, I lived in Vegas for 10 years. I have quite a few of those. So that's a story another day for another day. But apparently, I looked exactly like someone that was wanted for murder. And funny story at the end, but it was pretty neat. Anyway. Has nothing to do with real estate whatsoever.
What are we talking about? Celebration.
So my objective, and I do help people, and I really focus my energy on helping and serving my community of people that really want to not take 23 years to learn how to do this stuff, but shortcut the process significantly.
Nice.
And the celebration of mistakes is important. Number one, since I'm going to go back to that in a sec, to that now, is most people don't want to make a mistake, and they hide it, and they hide behind it.
Yeah.
And there's no growth that can happen unless you fix the problem. And it's most always us. It's user error in most cases.
No doubt.
I've done this real estate. I did real estate. It didn't work. Well, if you're living in a piece of real estate, obviously it works. Right. If you're staying in a hotel, it works. If you're alive, real estate works. Shelter is real estate.
Right.
But, and there's a lot of money to be made if you do it right, and you're doing it obviously ethically. And there's a lot of money to not be made and to lose, and to really get your ass handed to you if you are don't wield the power for good, if you will, because you can hurt a lot of people, including yourself, if you do it wrong. But if you really celebrate the fact that, hey, this is something I screwed up, I didn't do it right, now this is what it's supposed to be, now let's move forward from there, you can really achieve a lot very quickly. I've seen people in less than a year take down a hotel that makes almost $1 million a year in net income from zero, from having absolutely nothing in their pocket at all. So
that's powerful.
It's pretty cool. By celebrating mistakes, because you got to make a lot of them in order to win. Everything that we have right now, your computer, even this platform that we're using, is not perfect, right? And it's evolved through mistakes. That's how business works.
That's so good. I really agree with that. I think that a lot of people, especially in the beginning stages, they'll sweep their mistakes under the rug, or they'll maybe bury their head in the sand, and because they don't want to admit, but that's the straw. You have to, that's how you get better, right? You have to, it's not failure. I think a lot of people think when they make a mistake, I failed. you have to struggle. Like you have to struggle in order to get better. And like, that's nobody, to become a master, you day one, you have to be foolish, right? Like you have to look foolish in order to be the master. And so I really love that, Marco. And I also, it makes sense. Here's another thing that makes sense. You being a pianist, you being that, that musician, it makes sense that you now love creative real estate strategies because you have that creative part in your brain. So I love that. I'm really glad you're here, man. This is great.
I'm glad to be here too. Thanks. Golly gee willikers, there's so much love in here.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So how'd you get into the creative side of things? Like what was the start? Like, were you in single family? Were you commercial right away?
No, I was single family. Yeah. So I, in 99 saw an infomercial, Carlton Sheets.
Got it.
If you guys even know who that is,
Yep.
you guys are a lot younger than I am, but so I was a sheet head, and this thing this is a binder. Like this is the day where you got it in the mail and it came, the beep, 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 beep.
Right.
These huge boxes came in and, to give you this incredible value. And I deep dove into that so much because my pivotal moment for me was when my landlord knocked at the door and my wife, who was the earner, she made all the money. I was a stay-at-home dad. If I wanted $5 from my wife, I'd asked her. She said no. I was okay. It was just that's how it worked, and that was the dynamic that I had back then. And we were a little tight on cash at the beginning of the month. Landlord knocks at the door. His name is Mr. Pollock. Mr. Pollock says, "Where's my wife?" Asked me to go tell him just one thing. Go tell him that we don't have the rent. We'll have it in about 5 days. He came religiously at the very beginning of the month. Opened the door, terrified of this guy. He's half my size, little Italian guy. I'm sure he's very sweet, but my mind made him into this monster, right? So I'm terrified to tell him that I don't have the money. I'm embarrassed. I feel like a failure. And I basically say, my wife wants to tell you something. So he pushes past me. Now, my wife is pregnant with my 4th child. She's nursing my 3rd child, and my 2 boys are playing in the living room. He basically just goes through me and starts ripping my wife a new asshole right in front of me.
Wow. And
I knew at that point that if I did not do something to change my financial future, this would be the rest of my life and I would be miserable. I'd go to, the rope store and the short stool store very quickly. Like, this is not something I want to live with. Like, I gotta fix this. I gotta fix me. That's when I realized I was the problem. And I was not I didn't know how to stand up for myself. Like, I was pretty, I was bullied in school. I just didn't have.
And when was this? This is in your early 20s.
This is my early 20s. Yeah, man.
Wow.
So, and then that was the day where I felt like justifiably a piece of shit.
I'm ready to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I was a justifiable piece of shit. And you can't insult yourself more than other people can. Like, you're going to be way harder. I don't think that came out right. You're going to self barrage yourself infinitely more than, it's okay. No, it's not okay. It was just not acceptable.
Right.
So then I went on this journey, and back then you didn't have the internet. Right. It was Google was not a thing. Right. At all. So you gotta watch TV. This thing comes in. I'm super excited, and I digested that thing like there's no. This was going to save my life.
Right.
And I gravitated towards sandwich lease options, which is what I did at the very beginning, where someone had a property for sale or for rent. I would negotiate a great sales price and a good lease amount. I get 3 months of free rent because I relocated executives from around the country, and I needed 3 months, in order to find the right person. But they were guaranteed rent and guaranteed sale, and which the sellers that were distressed liked. I always knew distressed sellers was the key, because I don't want a distressed property. I want a distressed seller.
Got it.
So, and I figured out very quickly in my career how to identify quickly those that really needed to sell versus wanted to sell, because people that just want to sell are time suckers. You're gonna waste your life on this.
I don't want to go too much, but I'm just thinking, man. So are you like door knocking at this point, or what are you doing to get a hold of?
I'm going in the paper. I'm going in the. I don't know if you remember what newspapers were, but they're. I grab a paper and take a look at people that were advertising for a property for sale. And then I cross-reference if they were to rent. And then I realized I'm just going to freaking ask them. So I did. And if they met the two requirements of I either want to rent it or sell it, then I put this stupid little pitch together. Now I look at it and go, what was I thinking? I didn't even believe that worked, but it did. And I had a handful. So I get this property under contract on a lease with an option to buy it. And then I would sell it on a lease option with a lease with an option to buy it.
Got it.
And I get 10, 15, 20 grand on a deposit. And back then that was like, holy shit.
Oh,
you know,
gosh,
that was a game. That was more than I made in 5 years.
Yeah.
A $10,000 deposit. Like I made no money. So now I was like, now I can actually take care of my family, which was outstanding for me. This is my mid-20s now. And I'm living in Canada, and my first property that I ever bought was in Syracuse, New York.
Wow. Shout out to Cuse.
Yeah, Syracuse, New York. And I think I got it for like $65,000. And I looked recently at that same property. It's still worth $65,000. It has not changed in value at all. But I made money on it and I sold it. And that was great. So, and then I went into, then I started taking as many classes as I could. I just wanted to learn everything there was. And I took a lot of shitty classes. I took a lot of great classes. I met a lot of great people that said they did a lot of things, but never did anything. People that really were low key, that didn't look like much, but holy shit, they had massive portfolios.
Right.
I said, whatever you want, for whatever I have to do to listen to you, I will scrub your toilets. I will do anything just to learn the one thing that's going to change the game completely. So I valued the education that I had, because knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is explosive. Right. So a lot of people learn a lot of things, but you don't do anything with the knowledge that you have. So quick application is something that I've always valued. So you learn it, you apply it, you learn it, you apply it. If something isn't working, how do we make it work? Not it doesn't work. How do we make it work? Because the rules. And then so went into luxury property for a while, then taught that. That was an interesting time. Those were my dark years. I'm going to call them my dark years, because this is in my 30s. So in my 30s, I'm teaching people how to flip luxury homes, and I'm all about teaching and filling the room to as many people as possible, not necessarily customer service. I was all about not about customer service, but about how much money I could make. And man, I was selling seminars at $5,000 with 500 people in the room, right?
Nice.
And I was just and I was doing this every month, and it was bananas, but. I learned a lot from that, because it took me, I made a lot of promises I couldn't keep, because I was enamored with how much cash I could make on the education side of it. And I didn't really understand the responsibility that I had to actually give people as much value as possible. And so the 5 years that I did that, it took me almost 15 years in my 30s and 40s to actually resolve that. So it was a really hard karmic lesson for me, that if you write a check with your mouth, make sure you can cash it with your ass, because it's going to hurt it, right? So that was very, very cleansing for me. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, that was rambling there.
No, that was great.
I learned a lot. Yeah. Learned a lot. So yeah, the pinnacle of that was 2009. Right after the crash, I got remarried. I lived in Vegas, as I said. And during that time, if you were in the business, you can overborrow by at least 20% on any loan that you had. And whether it's jumbo, super jumbo, and I was doing luxury. So we're buying properties before the crash and pulling out $200,000 at closing, and doing that over and over again. We'd amassed about $11 million in cash, in money. And the reason to collect all this money is to, when the crash happens, because we knew it couldn't sustain itself, then, fine, we lose the properties that we have, but we're going to be able to buy things really, really cheaply. Well, what I didn't understand is that my wife had a plan to, as soon as the crash happened, to grab all the money and disappear. So that was the moment that really redefined me in a way. I'm very grateful that it happened, because had that not happened, I would have probably self-destructed somehow. Yeah. So I had to reinvent myself, realign with my values. I have a Red Sox story that you'll get in the podcast if you get there and when you get there. But a homeless man basically told me to wear red socks, and it completely changed my life. There's a story around that, and you got to go to the podcast to hear it.
That's awesome.
But it's totally changed my life. And it went from being all about me to how can I serve as much as possible. And it's completely changed who I am on the inside and the outside and how I see life. It's been amazing.
That's so good because, one of the things I think about, Marco, is how hard it is, though, to have that mindset shift without having to go and be someone who hits rock bottom, where it's like, I want to, like, if you think that way of like, I want to serve others, it can be difficult for someone who's like in like a self-employed, like, I got to like make this happen. You don't necessarily always think, like, I could kind of see where you were in those years before when you're like just packing rooms, churning and burning, and
money.
Yeah. Yep. And because, you never really had it before, that was probably your sense of worth, was how much money you could make in a way.
Bang on.
Right. And so, but I can see how that, what is your thought process on, like, how do people who maybe haven't hit rock bottom, right, who haven't gone that far down, how do they maybe switch that mindset to go, hey, guys, it's about helping others, it's about serving others, and then it will come back? Because some people go, well, what if it doesn't come back, Marco? What if I'm doing all this and I still got to pay my bills? I still got to do the thing I got to do. I still got to get after it and make my business. But at the same time, it's like, how do I also help and serve others? Like, what is your thoughts there?
It's a great question, because there's service. First, let's start with the concept of give to give, right? If you're going to give something, just give it to give it, not to get something back. Because if you have an expectation to get something back, you're not really giving. It's tainted.
Right.
It's not pure, and it's not easy to develop a discipline of, I want to give something to you and I really don't want anything in return. Now that's just delivering value. So I'm going to start with that. Now let's take a look at any business, McDonald's. Okay. Whether you like McDonald's or don't like McDonald's, doesn't matter. If McDonald's had the attitude of, I need to take care of me, I want to make more money, I want a deal, I want this, which is what I hear constantly. I'm sure you guys hear constantly as well, people that want to get in the real estate business. I want to make more money, I want to retire, I can't wait to make millions, I'm going to have, I'm. Enough about me, let's talk about myself, right?
Right.
All about me. So let's go back to McDonald's. And if McDonald's was like, you know what, we need to make more money, no meat and hamburgers this month.
Yeah.
Because we need to make more money, because we need our investors to make our bottom line, me. How long would McDonald's last with that attitude? Or any
Not
business?
long. No.
If any business did not serve you to a point where you wanted to be served, what would happen to that business in life?
That's so good.
It would die. And if you're behaving that way around everybody else, you are the creator of your own destiny in that way.
Yeah, that's huge. I really
like this. This is good. I have some good friends of mine. They have a restaurant. They have multiple restaurants, and their number one thing, where people ask them and they go, look, and they'll stop in the middle of conversation. Like, our whole motto is just service. Like, all we care about is great service.
Absolutely.
And they're booming. They're doing amazing. They're probably going to build 2 more restaurants that are just going to kill it. And, they're not a franchise. They're not anything like that. And so I hear these stories, and to tag off of that, what do you see? And just to tag off of Marty's question, because I really liked it. Like, what about the person who's, they don't hit rock bottom. They really not really familiar with service. They come to you, right? And they come, like, we have people that come to us also, and like, okay, how to help them take that step and go, look, man, this is really how it works.
So how business works in general, I hope this answers the question. How business works in general is figure out what people need, go out and go give it to them.
I love it.
Over. I'll say it again. Figure out what people need. Now, the only way that you can figure out what someone wants or needs is by asking questions. What do you need? What do you want? What do you want for the asset? What do you want for the property? What are your actual needs? Where most people want to make an offer, this is what I want to offer. And when they say no, well, I'm out.
Right.
Every time we make an offer, we expect to get it refused.
Right.
If you make an offer that gets accepted, you pay too much, man. The no is where it starts. The no is, well, what's going on where this is not the number that would work? What's happening? Because at the end of the day, if you figure out what their actual need is, it's game over. Maybe they owe more than what the offer was, and they need 10 grand to get the hell out of town. Here's 10 grand, and this thing cash flows like crazy. Maybe it makes $10,000 a year, and they want 10 grand right up front. You never know what people need.
Right.
when they're in real need, right? So by understanding at the end of the day, when I make an offer, and I learned this very quickly over 23 years of hard lessons. Right? So I'm not,
okay.
I'm the village idiot here, right? It took me a long time to figure this shit out, but when it clicks, you get it. And then you can do anything. I got into the hotel business about 5 years ago. I started buying hotels because I realized no one's buying hotels. Shit, I'm going to buy some hotels. And first hotel I bought, it was terrible. I did not do well. There was a bar in it. It was a lot of theft. And I'm like, I got to figure out the bar business because I don't understand the bar business. So a friend of mine was having really shut down one bar, and during COVID was like really struggling. They were almost out of business. I'm like, I'm going to buy one of the partners out. I'm going to own the bar, and I'm going to see how I can figure this out. And it was exactly what you just said, which is service, service, service. It was all about the patrons. And it went from crickets everywhere, where on a Friday night, maybe make $500 to, doing 6 figures a weekend.
Yeah,
right?
That's so good.
Because it's all about service. Now I turned it into more of an experience bar. I don't know if I can do a plug for it, but we opened up our second bar 3 weeks ago, which is arcade 80s bar.
Yeah, plug that
cool.
shit.
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's at Cocktails and Screams, which is a year-round Halloween bar, which is the first one that was acquired.
That's
And then
it.
Wow.
One Up Orlando is the other one on Instagram.
Orlando.
One Up Orlando on Instagram and at Cocktails and Screams. Yeah, Cocktails and Screams. Cocktails and screams. And it's all about service. All about service.
Let me ask you a question, and this is actually very much just specific to me. As somebody who's exploring the mentoring and coaching side of things, when you build this community, and I'm one of the builders of the Upstate New York Real Estate Investors Association group, and as I'm building this community, I'm starting to get a lot more time being sucked to answer questions from these people, from folks, and I want to help them, and I want to serve, and it has come back. It really has by doing that, and it's great. But where is the adjustment, or where is okay, at this point, then you need to charge? Where does that start to creep in? How does somebody go from, hey, I'm building this movement and I like it. I like helping people. It serves my itch of being creative and doing a podcast and getting information out and having events. But where do you do that? Hey guys, at this point now I need to charge for this and that. Where did that come in for you, Marco?
That is a phenomenal question. So everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to pay the price.
That's right. So good.
That's how I'm going to start that.
This guy's the storyteller, dude. He's unbelievable. Keep going, Marco.
I appreciate that. If you have do either of you have kids?
Yes, I do.
All right.
My wife's pregnant, but no.
His wife's pregnant. It's awesome.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
High five. Very nice.
It's very nice.
So if you have a kid and you give it everything that it wants constantly, it wants it, you give it to him. It wants it, you give it to it. You want, what's going to happen to that kid?
Shitty kid.
It's a shitty kid that's spoiled that ends up doing nothing in life, right?
Right.
There always has, and if you give a child a free car, a 16-year-old child, because they're still technically kids at 16, right? Here's a car, free car. How well do you think they're going to take care of that car?
No way.
They're not going to appreciate it.
Poor.
The first thing that you ever bought with your own money, you most likely took care of it because you've earned it.
Oh yeah.
So, and the information is the same way.
Mm.
Information is the same way. I promise I was going to land the plane. All right. Information is the same way. So I give free whats, but not the hows. You have to pay for the how, because it took me 23 years, 2 divorces, losing millions of dollars, being distanced from my kids, having to reconnect from my kids, figure out all the intricacies of exactly what and how to do. I'll give you the whats, but I'm not going to give you the how unless you pay the price. Because if you don't, you won't appreciate it and you won't take care of it. And it dilutes the community that actually has paid for it and has earned it. You got to earn it.
Totally.
That's
so
great.
You understand here's what you should do, but I'm not going to tell you that. If you really want to know the how, you have 2 ways of doing it. Go figure it out, just like I had to do. And you're going to pay for it in time and money, or you pay for the shortcut and get a mentor to tell you exactly what and how to do it immediately. That's your choice. I'm not going to make that choice for you. And if you really want to learn, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Because that will quickly sift and sort those that really want and need to change and are ready for change, and those that just are basically time vampires.
Right.
They're just sucking the shit out of you all the time, milking the cow, and it's always one more thing, and that paralysis through analysis, and you can't save them. They have to jump. You can't give them more information. You're actually enabling them to fail.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great, because it makes sense, because I pay for coaching, right? And it's like because I respect that person, that, it's like, so you don't really respect me in a way, right? If you're
careful, because there's a fine line, because you have to sort of lead them there, right?
Sure.
So my recommendation is, if you have a business of information of any kind, is I have a platform where I shoot the videos, the FAQs, right? Here are the frequently asked questions. And if you want anything past that, you got to invest in yourself, just like we had to in order to get there.
Right.
And if you want to go on YouTube and figure it out for yourself and spend all that time, then God bless you. I hope you're successful. I want nothing but the best for every single person that I touch. But if you're, let me say it another way. I've never, and everyone's going to say, well, I don't have the money. That's what everyone says. Or I don't have the time, blah, blah, blah. I've never seen a drug addict that doesn't have money to be fixed.
Yeah, no kidding. It's solid. Right? Yeah, for sure.
So if this is my fix, was figuring this out. Right. And I've always found the money at all cost in order to take care of my family. And if you don't have that level of commitment, how the hell are you going to buy a piece of real estate doing it creatively without any of your using skills and not money? Because that's kind of my mantra. Don't use money, use skills. Because with skills, you can do anything. Right. You don't need money.
I love that. Thank you for that. And actually kind of goes down to my next question, because, as Gabe and I are building our businesses, and you've done this now in your obviously advanced and professional level here. Marco, what's been something because you failed a few times, obviously, you've struggled a few times. What is is there like a trait that maybe you've had, that you developed, that has made your business a winner? Or was there like an aha moment where you're like, okay, if I start doing this, things are going to start working out in my business? Like, was it thinking creatively? Was it, here's how I'm going to be able to raise more money by just being this type of person? Was it being someone who put together events, put together like more marketing to get people to know who you were? Like, what was it? Or maybe there was 2 or 3 things that did it for you.
Figure out what people need, go out and go give it to them.
Guys, it's that simple. Damn it,
Come
Gabe.
on, Marty.
Get it together. Bro, what are we doing?
What do you need? What's the problem?
What are we doing, Gabe?
Jeez, write it down, dude.
Get it together, man.
Seriously, it's like okay, someone has a cavity, all right, and they go into a doctor's office, all right, and now they're getting a colonoscopy. Wrong cavity.
Yeah. No shit.
Right? No shit. Seriously.
Yeah.
Well
no
said.
pun intended.
Yes. No pun intended. Pun intended. Well done. So, and the point is, if you don't ask the right questions to the right group, you should know who your audience is before you start anything. Right? Just because I want to make $1 million selling pictures of kittens doesn't mean I'm going to make $1 million selling pictures of kittens, just because it's my belief that there might be a way to do it, but the only way to do it is to really do it in a way where, and there is someone making millions of dollars selling pictures of kittens. If you've ever seen this guy with kittens in action, like in a room, it's bananas. It's insane. And this guy just has pictures of kittens that's in action doing certain things. And the guy just is a fucking genius. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word either, but I just said it.
For sure.
So he's a genius. But he's doing something different that aligns them with those kitten lovers. Who loves cats? Have you ever seen that dating video where like, I love cats so much? I hope you've seen that, because if you haven't,
no, but I just got 2 cats and I love them. They're my favorite things in the world.
You've never seen a dating video from it's like just Google eHarmony cat lady. eHarmony cat lady. You will laugh your ass
we have
off.
to do it.
Probably my wife.
Don't do it now. Yeah, don't do it now. But it is hilarious. All right. So they're crazy cat people, and they will spend whatever amount of money on that. But the first comes, what can I do differently? Or what is the message that's unique, that's authentic? Because you guys are unique in your own way. Be yourself, because everyone else is taken. So you whatever voice that you have that you eventually will have to find, just like a stand-up comic. The first time you see them on the stage is not going to be the same as the 10,000th time that they're on stage.
No
There's a
doubt.
lot of, and the way that they improve is by listening to what people need, what's working, what are people, what's doing well, what's not doing well. When I do this, it doesn't work. It's like you're in bed with your girlfriend or wife, and you do that move, and woo, she likes that one. You're doing it again. Right. And then if she is like, that's the move she didn't like, then you don't do that one again.
I don't know any moves that work, so we'll talk off screen.
Yeah, he needs help.
Well, obviously something worked if she's with child. So
hey, no doubt about that.
Yes.
Well, okay, let's keep moving. All right. So we still don't know what you do today for the audience. All right. So what is it currently what you're doing right now that's like energizing you, getting you in the game? And you've been doing this for a while, so you love this business, right? So what is it that you're doing like today?
Well, when you get to a certain number of units, you stop wanting to work. So I tried retirement, and my problem is when I stop doing something that's productive and growing, I decay very quickly.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. Like I make very bad choices in my life. So I have a very addictive personality, and I have to be addicted to something that's not going to be bad for me, if that makes any sense. So my addiction, if you will, because we're all addicted to something, whether we want to admit it or not.
Right.
We all have a vice of some kind. My vice now is really serving and seeing people succeed. So I'm going to say I like seeing things grow, opportunities grow, people grow. So in my bars, for example, I love seeing someone that is not guest experience. They're all about themselves to really being about the customer, and them realizing that they just doubled their tip pool because everyone's asking, how are you? Or remembers the name, or they read I make them read a book every 2 weeks. So they learn one more thing, that every 2 weeks you have to apply one more new thing. You're always having to grow, because if you're not growing, you're dying. And that trickles down into the customer, which makes the experience better for the customer, which makes them extremely generous tippers. But we're not trying to get better tips. We're focusing on how can we make the experience better. The result happens to be better tips, right? So I have really bad ADHD. I don't even think I remember the question now. The question was,
what are you doing?
I'm not
today?
joking.
What
am I doing today? I enjoy seeing things grow. So okay. If I could, like, making things better, helping, seeing that my community doesn't understand this part of the process. So creating videos and exercises and a flow chart that will really make things clear. And one of the reasons that I appreciate the compliment of being a good storyteller is it's really hard to explain unknowns with other unknowns. Right?
No doubt.
Let's do that. Let's go there. Let's go there.
But if I can teach something that's simple and basic, like in my process, I have penguins and I have donkeys and I have donquins. I have, different animals, sharks, minnows, fish, all things, triangles, everything's in threes. Everything is very easy to understand in basic language, because I think the simpler it is for people to get, the better their life is going to be. I'm not trying to make me seem more intelligent than I really am. It took me 23 years of making sometimes the same damn mistake 5 times before I got the lesson.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now my focus is, how do I make things simpler? And how do I take someone that is the village idiot like me, that doesn't have a lot of money, that doesn't have that's not necessarily the highest IQ, that can just follow a process. And as long as they stick to it and don't give up when it's hard, because it's going to be hard. It's never going to be easy, because if it was easy, everyone would do it. It has to be hard. There has to be fire that hardens you. So just like if you have pottery and clay, the clay is soft, but when it goes through the kiln, when it goes through that heat, it's very hard to break.
Right.
So life is that heat. You have to go through the heat in order to really be able to serve and hold others and hold things for others. That makes sense.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So you're doing that in real estate also. You're helping people with real estate and their businesses and with your bars. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm expanding. We have 7 bars that we're developing, so
Nice.
that's
That's
growing
awesome.
well, right? And
Congrats, man.
well, thanks. I'm helping others buy hotels, motels. We bought a 600 unit assisted living, 338 unit, 600 bed assisted living facility. That was kind of neat. Constantly acquiring hotels. Really great time right now for hotels as an asset class by itself. Multifamily with them. I don't know when this is being broadcast, and what for just to be more timely. As interest rates go up, the market slows down, which is a great opportunity to acquire a lot of assets.
Marco, get those creatively. Is that
yes,
what you mean?
Yes, because as the market slows, the market declines, right? So someone wants to sell quickly, they lower the price, and if enough people and right now, it's as of today, there's been a 3% decline per month since June of 2022. So for 3 months now, you've got 3%, 3%. So you're basically almost at 10% in 3 months, which means someone that put down 20% in June right now already has lost 10% of their equity.
Right.
Meaning that now if they want to get rid of it, there's pretty much nothing left after closing costs and paying for a real estate agent. So it's very easy just to scoop up debt. And at that time, debt was cheap. So rents have gone up because of inflation, but debt is cheap. So that's the perfect storm to be able to take over debt and just kill it. And these are mortgages that, still have 20 years left.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And you can't get the debt cheaper. We're taking over debt at 1.5% to 3% when prime is almost 6%. So
goodness gracious, man.
Marco, you're in this. You're obviously in the education and doing a lot with social media. You got a ton of followers. Do you think that there is, with that, like the last 5 years, there's been so many educators, right? And some great, some not so great. And, they've had students who want to get in the game of large multifamily or large commercial, and they just want to do a deal just to say they've done a deal so that they can have their face on the website of that educator's site, right? Do you think that because of all of this, all these podcasts, that people have done some pretty bad deals that are really going to start to, maybe come to fruition in the next 6 to 12 months?
People were buying over value. Just to buy. How can you buy a property that has a 4% return with no upside when the rates are 5 or 6? How are you going to make any money?
Yeah.
And get a dealitis is a problem.
Right.
Just no deal is way better than a bad deal.
Yeah. Right. Because I've seen a couple of videos where these people who I thought I respected, and maybe I still do, I don't really know. We'll see how this whole thing turns out. But they would say, hey guys, we're not making money when we close on this through the cash flow. We're going to make money when this thing appreciates. And I always thought that was not what we were supposed to do. We really need to have this thing, make some money at day one, or at least have a really solid plan. If it's not, to make make money very quickly. But that was very confusing and then very eye-opening.
It's I don't understand how that even started, and they're not even buying it. So how I grew up is you got to buy it right. That's the only way to make money in anything. Costco doesn't buy anything. I love Costco. Went there today. Costco buys everything as cheap as they can for their members, and they have to make money. They're not going to Neiman Marcus to buy their products. They have to buy it as cheaply as possible. And when they sell it to the members, us, they got to make money. So your product in this business is the real estate that you have to buy at a discount. We're not retail buyers. I have a sign, you can't see, it says retail is for suckers. So somehow this whole got to pay retail or more than retail is a cancer that I don't understand. And I went to a conference where people were literally patting each other on the back, high-fiving each other that they bought it over market, and they have a 0.5 point spread on the deal.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is terrifying, because if anything goes wrong, especially, you have 100, 200 unit apartment building, Murphy happens. Like Murphy is part of the process. And if you're banking on 100% occupancy where it's never going to be vacant, and I mean, not one unit vacant ever because of demand, something happens, you're fucked. Like you're done. And that terrifies me. So number one, you should always buy it at a discount. Number two is you should never use your money or credit if you buy it right, because it should be structured in a way with the right lenders, because there are lenders that just care about value. They don't care about your credit. Don't pay, they take it back. Go buy another one. You didn't lose anything. And there should be an upside. There has to be an upside, a built-in upside, not buying it with the ups. You're not paying for the upside up front. I'm not buying pieces of a Ferrari that are on my lawn for full price because I have to put it together and maybe something's missing or something's going to go wrong. I have to get another part. There's cost and there's risk. I got to buy it cheaper. Right. But people are buying, overpaying based on pro forma on its future value and wondering why they're going to lose their ass. And for us, that's great because there's debt on that we can just step into, and whatever, down payment they have, they're not doing it right. I can't tell you how many assets we've bought this year already. I can pull it up. If you want me to give you the data, I will, where we're just taking over the debt, giving the syndicator or the operator or the owner a couple of bucks just because it's the right thing to do. But we don't really have to. And just even if we break even on the purchase, the day one, raising the rents, the premium that we can get on the rents, like $25 at 100, if it's 100 unit, $25 at 100, right, is 2,500. All right.
Yeah.
Times 12.
We're all into this, bro. Just finish the story, Marco.
25. So you got 2,500, times 12, which is.
Marco, let's do this. Let's go. Yeah. I just had like 3 text messages and I'm trying to get into this story. Let's go.
All right. I'll start over. All right. Hi, my name is Marco, guys. How's everyone?
All right, here we go.
But you're basically creating at least $100,000 in upside in value of the asset just with a $25 increase in rent, right? And it's pure profit. It's that $25 is pure profit, profit. So even if you're breaking even, if you just do small little things, it makes a big difference as you're scaling. But yeah,
one of the things you mentioned earlier that I really liked was just the fact of, hey, I buy cash flow.
Yeah,
that's what I do. And honestly, man, I don't know when you started saying that, but in the last 2-3 years, I agree. This is what Marty's been talking about. Is we've been hearing that a lot lately. And the fact of you're saying, I don't just buy like cash flowing real estate. I buy cash flow. This is what I'm doing. I buy cash flow in businesses. I cash flow properties. It's almost like I don't know how to put it, but you're always looking at the opportunity from someone who's already been through it a couple of times of going, look, man, this is the right way to do business. There's not a shortcut. There's not another way to go about doing this. Right. And so that's one of the things that I just want to highlight and just commend you on, because I remember 2008. I remember seeing some precious deals. I was not creative. I didn't know what was going on. All I knew was that I could use bank financing, and I just saw deal after deal go through my hands, and it scared the crap out of me. So I was like, now I want to find out every strategy possible, to acquire those properties, especially when they're at 50% and literally 40% of what they used to be.
Yeah. Well, once I snapped out of my sadness and depression and my desire to kill myself when my wife took all the money and vanished, it was really hard for me. Once I snapped out of it, I was looking at what's actually happening in the market. We can get tapes of assets back in 2009 from like Citibank at anywhere between $25,000 to $50,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Las Vegas. You had to buy 100 of them, but it's $25,000 to $50,000 a piece. At that time, the Canadian dollar was worth more than the US dollar. So I went to my Canadian buddies that had money. You put in the money, I'll put in the connection. You get 51, I get 49. And we bought hundreds of those.
Wow. Really?
So, and didn't use my money. Okay, I give up 51% of the deal, but who cares? I was pretty much homeless at that time, living out of my car because I lost every penny I had, the employees that I had to pay. Like it was a shit show. But I focus not on my boohoo moment. I focus on, well, that person wants to make money. This bank needs to get rid of these assets. This person needs help. This person needs help. Just put them together, make the spread. Just like that. We're in the cash flow business, right?
Right.
So same thing. And if you look at it purely from numbers and not ego, this is huge. Stop driving. Don't kill anybody. If you're listening to this, your ego and you don't matter. The numbers do. The numbers won't lie.
So good.
If you want to buy that property because you like it, because it's in your neighborhood at this price, you're not making a good financial business decision. If the property is in Toadsuck Ferry, Arkansas, we're like, woo-wee, you got a pretty smile with all them teeth. All right. And this property makes $100,000 a year net, and you can pick it up for $600,000. Now that's a good deal.
That's good.
Right.
That's so true.
But it's in Arkansas, but it's managed. You got taxes, insurance, maintenance, management, and all the other shit that has to be paid. You do it right. And if your net works with a mortgage that you can get without using your money, buy as many of those as you can. It doesn't matter where it is because it's just cash flow. That's it. Just buy cash flow no matter where it is in the world.
You mentioned something. Oh, go ahead, Marty. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to go back into a little bit. You were just mentioning, management. This is kind of one of our struggles right now in our business is management. And so was there something that you saw or that you did that just changed the game for you? I mean, I understand it's like, hey, you got to, when you buy this, when it's usually a value add or a lot of cash flow that you can potentially get, there's some serious management that needs to be done. What are your thoughts on management? How do you manage and what's the philosophy?
So one, I don't manage because if I did, it would immediately go bankrupt the next day.
Yeah.
I know my skill sets and management is not one of them. But there is a site that I can share if you want on how to get really good management. If you
that'd be great.
Want me to help? Yeah. It's the Oracle of the Google. So,
interesting.
As stupid as that sounds,
dude, I even brought out my pen just for those who are listening later on. I was ready for the website.
I got you. I
mean, just hook line right there, man.
So the answer is yes. We made a lot of. Now there's two different kinds of management. There's the management that can create a good upside. That can actually capitalize on the upside. That's optimization management, and then you have stabilization management. They're two different skill sets.
Got it.
So there are questions that you can ask, and there are ways of asking on what their experience is on getting them onto your team, folding them into your team. Now, as an incentive, I give them a percentage of the refinance because the objective is to buy it, optimize it, refinance it, pull as much money out tax-free as possible, because when you refi, it's tax-free money, right? Your tenants are basically paying for the loan. Right. So now you have cash to do something else with that you can really do some damage with. And I give my optimization team a percentage of that.
This crosses my mind because I came from single family. We do single family. Now we're going into commercial, mobile home. We have parks and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I had a park and I got a partner who really understood everything that you're talking about. Right. And I'm like, man, I suck at this stuff. Like, man, I don't want to show up. This and that. I hear these are horror stories that can happen. And I'm like, man, you know how to do all this stuff. So we end up splitting. We end up doing a JV partnership, which was so cool that you mentioned it because that's pretty much what I did. And there's a couple people that are like, dude, you left a lot of meat on the table. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And this is a long drive. And so, but the whole optimization part, right? And then giving them a percentage of it. There's something that in my gut, I'm like, man, it'd be so cool to do. But mathematically and just in my own head, I'm like, how would that even happen? Like, how would you even put that into practice?
A percentage of the upside?
Yeah.
Easy.
So you're just,
yeah. So you get a 10% of whatever the refinance is.
Okay, that's cool.
That's easy.
And so they're pushing hard now for you. They know you. They're like, dude, this is one of Marco's deals.
And we just keep going over and over. And as you start getting more volume, your optimization team, once you get a really good management company, they're hard to find, and you got to fire some. It's not if you have to fire them, you gotta. I find 3, and they're there on the same day at the same time doing due diligence for me and they're doing the checks and balances for me. And I tell them straight up. There are 2 others that I'm going after because if you suck, I'm going to the next one. So if you want to win the business, I'm not going to chase you. And if they don't show up, they're out. If they say they're going to do something on Wednesday and they do it on Thursday, they're out. Because if I have to chase them to pay them, I don't want them.
Right.
And that's really hard at first because you want the deal. but through experience, I know that if they put off something for 2 days, their collections will be put off for 2 days. They're going to get, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Right.
Right.
So I want the best. You can't fly like an eagle if you're surrounded by turkeys. So just weed out turkeys from eagles and that's it. You move on. And if I can't find management, I don't buy it. I'll actually, I'll pass it on to someone that's local and I'll wholesale it.
Sure.
I'll make $100,000 on it instead of making $50,000 a year. So what?
Right.
Take the money, off it goes. Next one. Just, it's peace of mind is always more valuable than money.
Oh.
So Gabe, you're saying you left a lot of meat on the bone, whatever. You have peace of mind. You know it's going to be fine, and you can buy as many more. If you have this, it's like a bad relationship or a bad job. If you're so focused on this problem, it's sucking your life energy away. You can't do anything else. It's paralyzing.
Yeah.
Money comes and goes. It doesn't even belong to you. Look on a $100 bill. It says property of the United States of America. It doesn't even belong to you.
Right.
But your life, your time, that does belong to you. That's more valuable than money.
Damn, that's the clip right there. That's a couple clips right there.
Goodness gracious, man! I wish Marty wasn't talking so much there and all the uh-huhs and the yups and the, all that stuff, dude.
God damn, Marty, come on, man.
God, man.
Hey guys, I'm sorry.
All right, before we close out, I want to ask just a question for you. That's a distinguisher from you that you're going. You know what? This is my skill. This is what I've honed throughout my life. We hear different people say different things, but one of the things that you're not just a 10, you're a freaking 12 at. You're just, you can blow people away at. And this is what you have honed down over the years. What is something that you have worked on that you're like, you know what? And we got storytelling down because that's definitely, you could read a room. That's really good. Right. So that's the question.
Well, I'm only really good at 7 things.
Well, that's really good.
Yeah, 7. I already identified what those 7 are. And one of them is very complex things I can make very simple to understand. So all you have to do is do what comes next. Don't look at the big thing. Look at the square that you're on and just go to the next move. And that's it. Complication, forget it. Make it simple, easy to understand, and just do what comes next. That's it.
Love it.
And was that a skill that you just started developing over time, or was that something that you're like, man, I got that I was doing this when I was a kid?
No, it was hard work and discipline. And I just made it up just now because you asked me.
Because you're on the spot. This is good. Okay. So if anyone's listening, this is how you get on a podcast, guys. All right. You just make stuff up.
Yes. I actually don't speak a word of English either.
Marty, you got an ending to end this out?
Yeah, I guess my last question is always like, what's like a power play move? The show is called Power Play, but is there a best power play move that changed your life, or maybe even like a KPI that you look at for your business that was just something that you need to look at daily?
Listen, that's the biggest KPI I can give you, and the biggest power play you can do is stop talking and start listening. And when you stop talking and start listening, you got 2 ears and 1 pie hole for a reason. The more you listen, the more you understand what the actual problem is, and the easier it is to fix it. Get out of your own way.
Boom. Love it. Yeah, that's true and so good.
So, guys, thank you so much. I got one more question. I don't even know if we could do it on here. You said you're ADHD, right?
Massive.
ADD? Okay. Now, I think that I'm like really leaning towards this. We just came from a conference, Marty and I. Marty can sit through the whole conference for freaking 5 days, and I'm up and down. I'm walking, I'm going to the bathroom, coffee, everything else, whatever it is. I'm looking for people in the lobby, all this stuff. What is like, how in the world did you become such a great listener with ADD?
I don't have to sit down to listen.
So pacing around your office.
Right now. I don't have a chair in my office. I can't sit. I actually do have a chair, and it's like junked over there. I cannot sit down. I have to move around. I pace back over here. I am always standing, but I can always listen. And I don't have to listen to everything. I just have to listen to the one thing that I can implement in action right away. Sometimes I'll go to a conference. I'll hear the one thing that I need to do when I'm out on the first 15 minutes of a 4-day conference. Wow. I can't learn it all. I can't do it all. I can't implement it all. So that's what I started doing. Right now I have a team, so I can have them sit through because they're smarter than me,
Right.
and they'll action the things, and I'll learn. And I'm more of a relationship builder, so I'll be in the hallway creating relationships while my team is going to implement the things that need to be done.
Right.
So now I have a great book. If you haven't read it, Who Not How.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So it's get the who's that can actually do the things, so you don't have to.
I love it.
And not everyone can get there very quickly, but once you have a little bit of a base, it's very easy to do, and you're scaling very quickly.
That's awesome, man. Guys, thank you so much for just listening to this awesome podcast. Marco, you're amazing, dude. We love this. This is great stuff. I appreciate it. Guys, go ahead and check out our links, our YouTube, all of our different videos that we have out there. If you have any other questions that we want to ask, or that you want like us to ask the people that are on the podcast with us, that we interview and that we talk to, let us know. We'd be happy to ask those questions. So that's it. See you guys later. Peace.
Appreciate you.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Power Play, guiding real estate entrepreneurs to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast, or follow us on YouTube at Real Estate Power Play.